Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Let Me Hook You Up podcast, season 2. And forgive me, it's been, 2 full years? The last time we met was 2 full years, almost to the day.
Yeah.
Because this was on March 26th of 2024. Mm-hmm. And the last episode I posted was on June 17, 2024. But we're back. We're back.
And we're going to be consistent this time.
Don't make promises. don't make promises.
But you have to have a deadline. So they'll hold us accountable.
Okay. Yes. No. Here's the point there.
Gotta
right?
be consistent.
When we let you know, we let you in on the goal, then you can hold us accountable. I hear that.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what I don't like, and that's why I don't make promises. Right. Because
it's not a promise.
I don't want anybody to hold me accountable either.
It's not a promise. All I said is we're going to be consistent. If consistent means once a month, that's what it is.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Not every week, not every day, but it's going to be coming.
You have a point. Today we have a few things to talk about, right? And these topics are topics that Showa wanted us to talk about. So, thank you for bringing these up. We have what mental health looks like in day-to-day life, right? And talk to me a bit about what your thought is behind that.
Well, when I think about that topic, I was more so like, what does mental health look like daily? Like when people speak about mental health, they automatically go to like extremes. It's like a mental health crisis, or it's just, I feel like mental health is a daily thing. And what does it look like daily for people, Yeah.
Now, you make a great point with respect to, for many people, when they hear mental illness or mental health issues, their minds go to severe depression, or even in our communities, more along the lines of the schizophrenias of this world and bipolar disorder, when people are going through a manic episode and stuff like that. But yeah, you make a great point. Mental health is a day-to-day issue.
Yeah.
Right? Especially the bit about taking care of your mental health. That is based off of your sleep cycles, your eating habits, your exercise habits, like your relationships. And that's where really the mental health happens.
Right.
Right. Now,
even your thoughts, training your thoughts, your mindset.
Huge.
All that contributes.
Yeah. What I try not to do, though, because I guess as we're talking about mental health, we're talking also about mental illness, right? So what I try not to do is to make it sound as though day-to-day or regular life issues are mental health issues.
Right.
Right. Because sometimes people would come to my office and they're describing just regular life experiences, right? And they come in and in their minds, they have generalized anxiety disorder or they have major depressive disorder. Like, no,
right?
You're human. You're living life, right? You're going through what is a tough situation, right? Whether it be after grief or adjusting to a new experience. You have a new, he's not a newborn anymore, but you have an infant, right?
Yeah.
Adjusting to, motherhood with an infant, right? It will be exhausting. It will be stressful, but that in itself isn't a mental illness or mental health issue.
Right.
Right. So I think the issue comes up when it's kind of past a certain threshold. Right. And I guess that's a nice segue into stress, burnout, vis-a-vis things like depression or major depressive disorder. Right. So you give me your thoughts when you hear those three things: stress, burnout.
I think stress and burnout can lead to a major mental health crisis. So it starts small.
Yep.
I feel like it starts with simple overwhelm, and then you go into stress, and then you don't realize that you're burnt out. Next thing, you're depressed, and you can't get out of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I feel like all those things tie in together. But if you're able to notice it at the overwhelm, it's like, okay, how am I going to tackle this overwhelm? If this stress, how am I going to tackle that? But a lot of people don't have those tools to help themselves or to seek help before they get to that, the deep part.
Yeah. And that's facts, because I think the data also shows that, especially for people in our community, mainly, like Black people, period, we don't seek services nearly as much as our counterparts with palm color skin. However, when it comes to the severe mental health issues, like we are right there with them, if not more than them.
Yep.
Right? Because we don't take care of it when it's quote unquote light, when it's manageable, until we're in a crisis. Because like day-to-day stress, of course, that's normal, right? As we go about life, there will be situations that will be stressful. There will be schedules that we're trying to manage that will be stressful. So that's normal. If we don't kind of try to get a hang of it or get a sort of a system to make the day-to-day stress manageable. It then gets us to a point where we've had it.
Yeah.
And I think that's burnout.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Many people almost wear burnout like a
badge of
pride,
honor.
right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm so tired, man.
Right.
The last time I slept,
means like you're being productive.
Right? I haven't
Really...
slept for more than 4 hours in like 6 months. Like, why are you saying it like it's a flex?
No.
Right? You know, and so many people will carry that burnout badge, but the longer you go without sleep, the longer you go without properly eating, the longer you go without taking care of your physical health, like exercising and stuff like that, before you know it, mood is down. You wake up and all you can do is the thing that you have to do. So for most people, they can still keep up with work.
Right.
Because if you don't go, you don't get paid. But after work, they're done.
Yeah.
If they're a parent, everything to do with a kid is almost a drag, right? If they're a spouse, their partner wants to engage with them, talk to them, like, you know, I don't have the energy for it, I'm too tired.
Right.
You know, if they're a student, like they might force themselves to study sometimes for grades, like when exams are coming up, but anything in between doesn't happen, you know, because your mood is low, you don't have any motivation, you don't have any energy.
Right.
And that's the depression right there.
Right.
Right. When it's a day-to-day thing for a couple of weeks at a time, technically you've just met criteria for major depressive disorder, right? Mood is low, no interest in things you used to enjoy, sleep is off, appetite is either like really, really low or
really high.
You're eating almost as a comfort, you know, because you're home, you don't have the energy to do anything, the fridge is right there, you grab, you know, and stuff like that. Many times when you're going through that, you don't have a great sense of self-worth. So you feel crappy about yourself. And that right there are the, you know, 5 of the 7, 8, or 9 symptoms of major depressive disorder. We're not even talking about having thoughts of wanting to harm yourself. Because I think most people wait to get there before they think there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. You know, but when you're already in these 5 symptoms that I've talked about for most days, most parts of the day, for 2 weeks, you technically are in a major depressive episode. And if you don't know you're in it, then you don't know to get out of it or even how to get out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and especially for folks who carry like a badge of honor, then it's like, I'm just tired, man. I've got so much going on, you know, and stuff like that. So sort of that's the difference, right? Stress to burnout that can lead to a major depressive episode. And similarly, stress, burnout can also lead to significant anxiety.
Right.
Right. Because for some people, instead of that low mood and kind of being down and stuff like that, they develop a sense of panic because they still have to get stuff done, right? So anytime they think about the things they need to get done, it's panic, anxiety spikes, and then that's sort of what gives you a little bit of oomph to get things done, and that becomes your baseline functioning.
That's true, but for some people, if they get to that point where they're super overwhelmed, those people that when they get overwhelmed, it's like motivation for them to go. But other people, if they get super overwhelmed, it's like you just sit there and it's like, I know I have to get this thing done, but you're so overwhelmed you can't move.
Yeah.
You know, and then things keep piling and piling and piling. That can also lead to depression, not just the burnout, but just the overwhelm of feeling like, hey, I have so much to do. I don't know where to start.
And for people with ADHD, that's even more likely, right? You know, because for people with ADHD, you struggle with kind of the breaking down of tasks. So the moment they pile up, you're like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't know what's the first thing, what's more urgent. And it feels like a lot. And, you know, the internet generation calls it decision paralysis. Like, I'm done. Like,
or even like when people talk about bed rotting, you know, I don't know about you, but people with ADHD, I feel like some of them take offense to that, you know, like, because people have made it like a trend where it's like, you know what, I'm done so much this week. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to bed rot. Like, people with ADHD, I feel like they do that without like setting a day for it. So then when you see this stuff on social media, it's like, oh yeah, so I'm just going to sit here and do whatever. Must be nice to be able to create that for yourself and do it. Other people, it's like a daily thing. They're fighting against it, you know, and that's why even with like, when we talk about real life, like what is mental health like in real life? You know, because there's what we see on TV or on social media, TikToks and Instagrams, and then there's real life and people who are dealing with that thing that people are glamorizing to be like a rest day or where they can do whatever. Yeah, you know, it's kind of you know,
that aspect can be very, very cultural too. right? Because some people may have the quote unquote luxury to bed rot,
Yeah.
right? When in our cases, you live in a country where it's not your home country. You may have been here for a while, but it's not your home country. And for many of us coming here in Ghana or in our Tree language, there's this thing that people say, which loosely translates to, we didn't come here to watch the sea, right? We came here to grind and make money, right?
Yeah.
So it's been ingrained in you, this idea that what the hell are you doing bed
Right.
rotting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So even if technically you could afford to, it's like there's almost so much shame filled in you that you don't, right? So the people who may have the luxury by way of money, the people who may have the luxury by way of culture, nobody's giving you pressure. Like there's no internalized pressure to do things any other way. They have the luxury to bed rot, right? They have the luxury to, almost be like have friends and they'll be like, me and my ADHD. Like you make plans with friends, they don't, you don't show up and like, me and my ADHD, and maybe your friends get it, right? If you're from a culture where one, they already don't believe ADHD is a thing, right? And you say, me and my ADHD one time and they just call you, stop making excuse, they just plain insult you, like stop doing that nonsense and making excuses with your ADHD. Everybody has a little ADHD. You can't always be using your ADHD to be doing nonsense,
Right.
So some of that means you don't have the same luxuries by way of your ADHD as people on the internet might say, right? So today I'm going to bed rot, or I have decision paralysis. People are counting on you, right? So almost like you can't be paralyzed for too long.
Right. You got to move.
You got to move. You got to get up, right?
Yeah.
And while that can have its advantages, because in a way it gets you up, right? And really, sometimes what you need is to get up and start doing things, and that's how you build momentum to keep it going.
Right.
Right. But there can be a downside because there are people who just can't, and so then they are riddled with even more guilt, right? And the people who will move, but then it's almost like at so much effort that
Just that movement alone is like, dang.
like you have to do too much against
Yeah,
yourself to make that happen. And so then there's a bit of like a crash at some point soon, right? So it's definitely different from how it might look like on social media. And even the way that it looks like on social media is not necessarily healthy.
Right. Exactly.
Because I have a problem with some of the ways that we phrase mental health conversations, because obviously it's okay to not be okay, right? But sometimes we say the phrase as though it's okay to sit in it.
And that's where the issue comes in, right? And before we continue, I want you to look up what is the definition of bed rotting, because we need to understand exactly where that term comes from. Yeah,
bed rotting. Meaning. Okay, so bed rotting, this is the AI overview on Google. Bed rotting is a social media trend popular among Gen Zs on TikTok, involving intentionally spending several hours or entire days in bed while awake, often foregoing responsibilities to scroll on phones, watch TV, or snack. While framed as a form of self-care or burnout recovery, it can become an unhealthy escape, sometimes indicating underlying depression.
And see, I feel like before this became a trend, it was actually something that was talked about in the mental health space for someone who is experiencing depression. And social media has made it a trend. So do you see where I say, like, if someone goes on social media and they're like, oh yeah, today I'm going to bed rot, imagine what people who are actually going through those mental health issues.
Oh, that's what you mean, like when people get offended by it.
Yes. And also just like in real life, like people will think it's normal to have those days. They're not going to be able to differentiate and say, okay, this is real. This person's really having a mental health crisis, or they're just having time to recover from brain rot. To recover from burnout.
Yeah.
You know?
The tricky thing is always because the bed rotting, at least the way I read it, sounds more intentional, right?
Now it sounds more intentional as a trend. But prior to it being a trend, then it was a real thing that caused for attention. You know?
And it's still, I mean, we won't call it that, right? But if somebody, especially the part about foregoing responsibilities, right? But if somebody I know decides that, you know what, for the next 3 or 4 days, I'm just not taking care of my responsibilities, right? Not that they put in PTO 2 weeks ago like you're supposed to do, right? Out of nowhere, they're like, all right, I'm calling off for the next 3 days, right? I am not doing much by way of cleanliness and hygiene. I'm just going to sit and watch TV and stuff like that. Because again, I guess that fits with the rot bit, right? Because it's not necessarily recovering. Right.
It's escapism.
Exactly. So it's almost like you get lost in it. And then when your bed rot time is over, you come back to square one. Because I suppose bed rot time really doesn't help you recover, right? Because a recovery period, I feel like if somebody's taking maybe a vacation because they need to recover, what that looks like is significantly reduced responsibilities. So you take time off work so that those 8 hours or so a day means you can sleeping a little longer. You can be like, take it easy with the remaining responsibilities you have to do. You can make time to do a lot more hobbies that you didn't have time to do.
Right.
Take care of yourself by way of taking a shower, dressing up to, zhuzh yourself up so you look good, you feel good, right? So for that 1 week, you're nourishing yourself to restart,
right?
Not rotting.
That's why I thought it was important to talk about the realities of what mental health looks like in real life. Bed rotting seems cool on social media, but how about
you will probably feel worse.
You'll feel
afterwards.
worse.
Yeah.
I would think people switch towards more mindfulness. Like if you're gonna be relaxing or trying to recover from burnout, okay, how about a mindful approach to it? Because if you're not mindful, are you really recovering?
Right.
Are you really regenerating? Is your battery really recharging? Because you're just sitting there, and maybe some people say they don't shower for 3 days while they're. How is that helping?
It won't help. Right. It won't help, and most likely it will make things worse. Because also the data with respect to exercise habits, the more kind of sedentary, just, because movement helps some of those feel good hormones and stuff like that. So if 3 or 4 days, you're not moving, you're not showering, you're probably eating junk, right? Because if you're bed rotting, you're not eating anything healthy.
Yeah.
And people, like if you're doom scrolling, or if you're scrolling, it's not a whole lot of healthy stuff on the internet for you to consume. So that's 3 or 4 days of
nothing.
Exactly.
Are you really recovering?
Yeah.
How are you nourishing your soul? How are you nourishing your brain? How are you nourishing yourself, people around you? So do you see where I'm going? Catch my drift?
I do. And social media has, of course, become this double-edged sword that has a lot of advantages. But then if you don't take care and you get kind of caught up in the trend and the pop psychology aspects of it, you might end up feeling worse. Because I many times there are times I'll be on there and I'll see somebody maybe who has been recently diagnosed with ADHD, and all of a sudden they're an ADHD influencer. And the way they speak about how they deal with the ADHD, and of course, even though it's technically how they deal with the ADHD, they of course are preaching it as though this is how you should do it.
Right.
Right. And people take information from it, people take validation from it, and they want to do things that way. And it doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
Right. Because when if for people who have ADHD, yes, you're more forgetful. Yes. All other things being equal, you're going to be the flaky friend. Yes. And all of that. Right. And sometimes these folks on the internet make it sound as though you got to do you and find the circle of friends that will just take you as is.
Right. But that's not reality. That's
and
not how the world works. Yeah.
Like, even if the world would accept you that way, the person you become, right, who is forgetful, often flakes out on appointments, is impulsive.
You will lack accountability.
And you will actually struggle because bills don't wait for you.
They don't stop. Yeah.
Right?
They don't.
So if you're forgetful, you're paying a lot of late fees. If you're impulsive, you're buying a lot of things that you don't need that clutter up your house. You lose money, right? If you're flaky, it's only a matter of time before your friends stop inviting you to things.
Yeah.
They still love you, but they will stop including you because what's the point in bothering myself to invite you if you're not going to come?
Right. That's true.
You understand? So when if you're following somebody who makes the symptoms of ADHD sound cool, right? You're going to struggle, right? So we can talk about it in a way where we are not shaming it anymore.
There you go.
We can talk about it in a way where we normalize the symptoms, but we can't leave it at that.
Right. You got to improve. You got to be mindfulness. It's back to mindfulness. You might have to do it. If you have ADHD, it's going to be a little bit harder, but you have to try.
Consistently.
It's a struggle, but you got to try. Because I was speaking with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and she called me and she's like, "Hey, it's getting to a point where I feel a lot of people with ADHD carry a lot of shame because it's just you've lived a life different from other people that only your people kind of get, you know what I mean?" And so she called me and she's like, she was crying. She's like, "I'm struggling with so and so. And I feel like it feels like excuses. Other people are going to look at it as excuses. It's not excuses, but you cannot control how people are going to think and how they're going to perceive your actions, And it's that realization that gets you like, whoa, you know what? I need to adjust. Otherwise, you're going to burn all these bridges around you and things in your life are going to crash, And at that point, you have to have some type of control. It's going to be hard. It's harder for us to do things the way someone who's neurotypical will, but you have to put in the effort, and like I said, it dawned on me. I said, man, it just feels like it's excuses. I'm like, wow, that's probably how a lot of people view things. Like if you you're not doing it purposefully, but people are going to look at it as an excuse, and that's just life.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, for me at least, kind of helps me conceptualize it is if you know yourself that you have ADHD, and that's what makes A, B, or C difficult, and you don't think it's an excuse, right? But everybody else especially the good-hearted ones who don't do A, B, or C, you don't think they have a legit reason why that happens? It may not be ADHD, right? But it could be because of the way they were raised. It could be because of a physical health issue. It could be because of depression, anxiety. It may not be ADHD. But whatever it is that somebody else does or does not do, there's probably a fair reason somewhere, right? If they grew up around people who never showed love, so they don't know how to show love, right? Is that technically a good enough reason why they don't show you love? No. Or is it an excuse? If I wasn't taught, if I have no idea what love looks like, how am I supposed to show you love?
Right.
Right. And so even if I don't show you love, is that an excuse, or am I expected to do my work?
You do your work and you learn how to, and that, you're right.
Right. So I had to, folks have to kind of take a step back and recognize that when you think you're just being you and your neurodivergent brain and your ADHD brain and stuff like that, you have to keep in mind, one, how it affects other people around you.
Yeah.
Right. So there's definitely how it affects you yourself, like in the quality of your life, that's for sure.
Right.
And then also how it affects your loved ones. And every now and then, if you're able to step out of that, also realize that everybody's dealing with shit.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And if we really, really bring it down, everybody has a fair enough excuse for why they do what they do. But that's not good enough for you. Whatever excuse that they may give you won't be good enough.
Yeah.
Right. So when you give your excuse about, me and my ADHD, and it's not good enough for the person, we sometimes we get defensive about it, right? It's like, so if you're flaky, or if you keep missing appointments, or you keep skipping bills, and you expect your partner to understand, your friends to understand because you have ADHD, you have to ask yourself, would I understand if I was on the receiving end of this?
Right.
Even though I know that they don't have ADHD, right? Because you don't know what else is going on in their lives.
Right.
You understand? Or you may know, but because it's not yours, you don't quite understand or piece it together, So it's always a thing. Many people, I love social media for the fact that it brings conversations about some of these things to people's presence, mind consciousness.
Because these were things people couldn't talk about a while ago.
Exactly. Many people were being shamed.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and there are so many people who have reached out to me on TikTok, especially parents, and about their kids and how they didn't know about ADHD. They thought their kids were bad kids. They were always yelling at them, sometimes ass whooping and stuff like that. And since they've seen my videos on ADHD and autism, they are experiencing their kids a little differently, right? And that has improved their relationship, and that's great because all of that happened on social media, right? But if I see folks who then have the same conversations around ADHD, but then they come out worse.
Right.
That's always tricky, right? So my challenge
kind of
to
like
folks,
enabling.
My challenge to folks is always you want almost, and again, I know it's not easy, right? But you always want to be figuring out ways to make your life a little easier, understanding how your brain works, right? So if you have friends, and maybe for most people, if they make plans in 2 weeks for the next 2 weeks or so, they don't have to write anything down. They know they'll be there, right? Your ADHD brain probably can't do that. So the moment you make the plans, you say, guys, hold on, let me put it in my phone. And also, guys, do me a favor. Can somebody please remind me within about 3 days of that appointment? If they do, great. But you put in your phone, you've set a reminder that reminds you 3 days before and 1 day before, right? So you do that so that you can keep showing up for yourself and for your friends, right? But there are many people who almost like go by vibes. You know very well you're likely to not remember, but you don't put it in your phone either.
Right.
And then when it happens, you know me and my ADHD, then you do it again next week.
Right. And I get what you're saying, but also some people have lived like that for a long time. And usually if you notice you have that pattern, I feel like therapy, because some things you will try. Yes, you will try to change certain things, but if you have lived like that for a long time, I'm a strong advocate for therapy. You're gonna get tools that you need to better yourself, and it can be ADHD specific, it can be anxiety specific, it can be depression specific, but it starts if you notice, okay, this is affecting my friendships, it's affecting my home, it's affecting a lot of things around you. At some point, it's like, you know what, I need help. And go get that help. And there's no shame in it. A lot of people have lived like that because of shame and don't want to go seek out the help. And even with therapy, it's not going to be just like a light switch.
Right.
It's going to take a while to learn those tools, and you're going to have to do the work. Nobody's going to do it for you,
Yeah.
So they have to realize, okay, this is a problem, hold themselves accountable, and go find somebody to help you. Because if you've tried it your whole life and how you do it is not working and your whole life is burning up, go get the help.
Yeah. And that's what will not happen if you think it's cool.
Right.
Because you're not going to go seek the help if you think my kind of baseline ADHD presentation
this is just who I
what
am,
makes me, right? Exactly, right?
No.
So that's where the tricky thing is, because most people, especially the people that have kind of that hyperactive, impulsive aspect as well, they may come across as spontaneous and fun and stuff like that. And sometimes they sort of enjoy that because it's cool, right? Except spontaneous is also the opposite side of the impulsive that makes you do oftentimes things you later look back and regret.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But so you have to see the difficulties to then seek help, right? So yeah. It's one of the reasons I have a problem with folks that say ADHD is a superpower, right? Because for every thing that you think is a superpower for folks with ADHD, there is the consequence that can be huge. So, for example, people with ADHD can, hyper-focus and zone in on a thing and, kind of be really focused and knock that thing out, especially if they're super interested in it, right? Oftentimes, though, that comes at the expense of like their regular day-to-day things that they need to do, right? So it could be very, very important. Like I'm doing a work project and I find something that is so cool in the work project and I zone in and I do it for hours. In that time, I'm not checking my emails. I'm not checking anything else that I'm expected to be doing, right? And those struggle.
Right.
If I get zoned in into something for weeks at a time, bills are not getting paid. My family members are not getting the father that they deserve, the husband that they deserve, and stuff like that. So I have the superpower to zone in and get shit done. But that is all at the expense of so much other things that I have ignored.
Yep. And that can, like we were saying before, all that can lead now to depression. It's like, it's my superpower. I'm able to do, but then now you've ignored so many things that you need to get done.
And they've piled up.
And when you realize this big old load that you have on you, now you're paralyzed. Now, like you were saying, like paralysis, And again, when we go back, it's like people, I was sitting down and I was just paralyzed. No, there's people who have those real life consequences because of a diagnosis that they have. And then, like I said, if they go back on social media and they're seeing people, it's an excuse for this. It can be,
Yeah.
So
this for folks, especially newly diagnosed folks, I'm a big fan of working with actual professionals, right? So
yes.
definitely, like Showa talked about,
Yeah.
therapy. And even if you're going to spend time on YouTube and social media and stuff like that, try to, because there are so many clinicians on there as well. Because I had one of my friends who's a clinician made a post that said, we are out here because people are spreading so much misinformation. We want to do our bit to help out, right? So there are so many providers out there who are professionals, who are specialists in the area. I would say spend more time with them.
Yes.
They may not be as fun,
Yeah.
right? But
because your brain is already working on feel good. You want to feel good, and you want to see content that feels good, but
that's
feel
not what's
good will not
helpful
fix
for you
or
right
help
now.
anything.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the folks with ADHD, you get the message.
Yeah. Sorry.
So,
You see how we just went on a tangent, like about ADHD, but you know.
Well, I guess while we're on ADHD, we can kind of touch briefly on rejection-sensitive dysphoria. What do you know about it?
Well, I know it's not a diagnosis. It's a symptom that can be accompanied by ADHD. And based of what I've seen and like read, even just personal experience, it's like more. So if you have ADHD, it's that part of the brain that it's hard to regulate your emotions, right? Like if it's just like small criticism, it'll just send you up. It's like you have anxiety and you're feeling like the whole world is ending, Yeah. Well, that's mostly what I know about it. It's not a diagnosis, but it's a symptom of. It could be a symptom of ADHD.
It's one of the things that they call associated features, right? So the actual symptoms of ADHD, 9 for inattentive, 9 for hyperactive and impulsive. Rejection-sensitive dysphoria is not one of those, right? But then when it comes to ADHD and any other mental health concerns, they call something associated features. And the basic idea of that is it may not be a symptom, but we've seen this a lot in many people with ADHD, right? So that rejection-sensitive dysphoria falls in there, right? And like you said, because of, if you think about the people who are impulsive, right? The impulsive aspect of ADHD is when you experience something, that's kind of just breathing and thinking about your next course of action. For many people who are impulsive, that often is a very, very short time, or even it doesn't happen at all. So similarly, when you hear something that hurts, maybe somebody who doesn't have ADHD or somebody who doesn't experience this symptom is able to actually kind of sit with it, think about it, and realize that, oh, my partner did not mean any malice by this, or my partner did not mean to hurt me. It's a sharing of a criticism or a sharing of an idea. For folks with ADHD, that does not happen, right? It's almost like the impulse takes over. And again, the strong emotional feeling of it may not necessarily be followed by a reaction, but so you take the feeling so intensely, right? And of course, if the other person who gave you the criticism does not understand this or doesn't know what's going on, they're going to say you're overreacting. And that's even worse. Like, you definitely don't want to hear that.
Now the world's ending.
Right? So like you're going to do this and then say I'm overreacting, and then now it's escalating. And again, because you're impulsive, you're probably going to be saying things that you don't mean or you don't want to say. And then later you regret, you feel crappy about yourself, and it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So yes, like it's in the conversation a lot in the field, a lot, rejection-sensitive dysphoria. Oftentimes when we talk about it around ADHD, sometimes around autism, but kind of similar ideas are also around things like borderline personality disorder, PTSD, depression and anxiety, because in all of those situations, on the baseline, you don't want to hear that. Like you're in a pretty vulnerable or bad place. So any criticism, any feelings of rejection feel a lot worse because you're already in a vulnerable place.
Right.
By way of kind of dealing with it, similarly, right? Therapy, very, very helpful if it's something that you experience a lot. On a more personal level, when you know that about yourself, especially with a partner or stuff like that, you can always share that with them and let them know, hey, many times when you said things, I know you don't intend them to hurt me, right? And from your point of view, it probably isn't that big a deal. I hear that, right? However, in the moment, sometimes for me, it feels this way. So just do me a favor and give it a second thought when you're talking to me, right, about this area, because maybe that's where you tend to be more sensitive, and stuff like that, right? So that way your partner meets you halfway, but it's not because you blame them,
Right.
right? It's because you recognize how you feel, those I statements, like that's how I feel when you speak this way, and can you do me a favor and meet me halfway, right? So that communication is always helpful. And then eventually, like putting some distance, this idea of distress tolerance, like you feel crappy, right? And many times, even if you feel crappy and you're able to kind of sit with it, or, take a walk or do something that helps you come out of it without upsetting anybody else or lashing out at anybody else, recovering from that is relatively easy, right? Because it sucked for you, but you didn't do anything else against anybody else.
Right.
Right. However, if you take it so much and then you cuss somebody out, right? You say something to hurt somebody, like really hurt somebody else. Now, not only are you trying to recover from it, but then you have to also go and apologize.
Start apologizing to people.
Because you've messed up a relationship.
Yeah.
You do it 3-4 times and they are not taking your apology anymore.
Right.
So now you're losing friends and you feel even more rejected. Right. So kind of that distress tolerance,
cycle.
That distress tolerance aspect is also important, like to continue to learn. And for many people, therapy is what would help you work through that, right? Because sometimes trying to do it all on your own can be super, super hard.
Yeah.
Right?
And a lot of people don't know the tools. Like sometimes you can go on the internet and look up things, but the way someone who's understanding your perspective or what you're feeling is different. The advice or the tools that they're going to give you are going to be tailored to you,
Yeah.
So therapy. Therapy. And even if you don't have ADHD, even if you don't, I feel like everybody needs to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
No,
so this is how I feel about it. Everyone could benefit from therapy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And maybe not everyone needs therapy, but everyone definitely could benefit from therapy. Now, unfortunately, the people that think, oh, I definitely don't need therapy,
are the ones that need it.
They're the ones that definitely do. And oftentimes, they may not necessarily see the impact on their own lives, but they are bleeding on everybody around them.
Yeah,
everybody around them are walking on eggshells around them because they have no sense of emotional control when they're upset. They talk anyhow. They don't apologize. They don't hold themselves accountable for anything, right? But they think they're fine.
Yeah.
So please, talk to somebody. And especially for those of us here in the US, I think more people have access to it than they think, right? If you have, maybe fiscal, like health insurance through your job or whatever it is, chances are you can receive behavioral health services too. And the good thing with companies here in the US is when you reach out to them, they will run your insurance and let you know, give you a sense of how much it will cost first.
Right.
Right. So please reach out, get some therapy services.
How do you feel about people who have replace therapy with AI, like with ChatGPT? And
as somebody who uses ChatGPT quite a bit, I know it can get so many things wrong, right? And then there are so many things that humans or professionals can understand the nuance a whole lot better than Chat can, and you can't sue Chat.
Yeah.
So at the very least, even if you have trained your AI to the point where it's next to perfect and can do the job so well, for me, it comes down to the idea that Chat has no responsibility to you.
And it has no feelings.
It
has no feelings. It's not the same.
Yeah, no, it's
not the same.
And especially those who have access to either in-person work or a provider that looks like them or comes from a similar background or shares some demographic variables with them. There is something about that relationship in itself that because a lot of the research on therapy actually says that a lot of progress is based off of how the client feels about their therapeutic relationship, right? So whenever somebody says, oh, I love my therapist, chances are they'll do well, right? Because they go in there ready to listen because they respect where the therapist is coming from. They feel heard, they feel understood, right? And that is a nice setup for a good thing going. And especially because many of our day-to-day lives is in relating to other people, right? A therapist is also a good reflection of what a lot of your other people look like.
Right.
Chat probably isn't.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
there are quite a few downsides for chat to be your replacement therapist or your therapist. It's something I can't see it.
Yeah.
I can't see it, especially for those who have the options, right? If you're
Right.
somebody that, and even that I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're somebody that has no access to therapy and all of that, and you every now and then like check with chat, hey chat, what are some stress management strategies? Sure, right? Because chat will probably say exercise, eat well, etc. That's probably fair. But to treat chat as your therapist is borderline dangerous.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Showa, one of the topics that you wanted us to talk about was mental load, right? So give me your initial thoughts about mental load and I guess the things there that you want to talk about.
Well, so as far as mental load, I wanted to discuss the difference between, well, not necessarily the difference, because I think there's a lot of that on social media where there's the men and the women, but I feel like understanding mental load, and we kind of spoke about it
Earlier.
earlier, the invisible load that people don't see, like as far as like wives, mothers, just women in general, the things that
You carry.
yeah, the thing, because we're basically we're supposed to be caterers, we're supposed to be nurturers and all of that, right? And sometimes it's the invisible work that is not seen that affects us. If that makes sense.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. It makes perfect sense. The tricky thing is always, again, if it's invisible, right? Then it means that your partner who is not a professional, who isn't maybe on social media seeing the conversations around it, will not see it, right?
Right.
And you would think like, bro, you should know this, right?
Right.
And that's personally, like, it's always a bit tricky for me because we have such different experiences in life and different upbringings that sometimes the other person just won't
Right.
or can't unless they have some level of it at least has been expressed. And also sometimes after you express, then some boundaries need to happen. So I've heard so many people say things like, well, if I have to tell you how to do it, then I'd rather
might
just
as well
do it
do it
myself.
yourself,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And that probably works the first time. Maybe the second time. But if you might as well just do it yourself, then you would continue doing it yourself and you continue being burned out.
Right.
Right. So then that means that you, like, if you are with somebody who says, all right, like, show me how to do this, you tell them one time, and then if they come back, like, I trust their judgment, right? Or, hey, smart guy, I think you can figure it out. Like,
Right.
however you want to do this works. If it's about dinner, like, I don't need to take you through step by step for a particular meal that I want, right? Get us dinner for tonight, bro.
Right.
I'm exhausted. I don't want to think about dinner tonight. So can you please handle that for me? Right? If they come and say, hey, babe, do you want Chinese or pizza? Like, don't worry about it, babe. Take care of it. Make
Take
the
care
decision.
of it. Yeah.
Make the decision. It doesn't matter to me. Like, just get us dinner, right? So the first day you do that. Second time you do that. So if you go, you know what, forget this. I'll just call. Right? Then the next time you ask for dinner, that probably happens again.
Right.
Right? And sometimes it's not necessarily deliberate. It's not as if they are pretending to not know how to do it.
Right.
So you do it for them. Right? But that's what will happen. So at some point also then for the future, you also have to kind of have those boundaries so that your other partner learns. Right? Because again, it's really not rocket science.
Right.
When you didn't get a manual, you had to learn it too. So sometimes for folks that I've heard say, if I have to tell you every step of it, then I might as well just do it myself. When you do that, the other person won't, and then you continuously have to carry that load. And sometimes that's one of the areas that I also struggle with not so much. A bit of it probably is how many women have been socialized.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I want a lot of help with this load, especially the mental aspect of it, but also I don't want to, I don't want to set the boundaries so I come across as a nagging wife. I come across as a bossy wife, right? I don't want that title. I've seen so many people say things like, well, I don't want people to think I'm a bad mother, right? But if you want that change to happen, you have to risk being called a bad mother, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Because for the things that you're tired of having to carry is what many people associate with mothers or with wives. I've heard so many men say things like, hey, as for, my wife handles everything in the house, like bills, this and that, oh, my wife, as for my wife, when you come to our house, you see the change. But, so your wife is handling all of that and is exhausted with the mental load. Wife asks husband for something, and then husband has to come back and ask for a list. Like, bro, you live here. If I need you to go do groceries and you say, babe, what do we need? Right? Maybe the first time we go look together, in case you didn't know where our groceries go. But after a while, I need you to be able to go look at the usual places and figure out what we need and then go to the grocery store and get them. But if anytime husband asks, well, babe, what do you need? You go, right? Because you don't want the situation where maybe he goes and he gets the wrong things and now you look like a bad wife.
Or like you're not appreciative or...
You understand? So sometimes the issue also is the risks that you're not willing to take to make change happen.
Do you think, given the examples that you've given, do you think that being more attentive is what would fix like a situation like that? Like, for instance, how you said if someone goes to the store and they don't get what, say, you normally get in the house, right? Do you think being more attentive would be something that would fix...
Like from the other partner being more attentive? Yeah, it will help. Now, fix, probably not, right? The reason I say that is I've also seen a lot of dynamics where one partner has a way they want things done, right? So, for example, it could be, I'll give you an example, like our daughter. Anytime Laurentia takes her to school, her outfit is different. When I take her to school, her outfit is different. Because when I go into a closet, I pick something that I find cute.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if Laurentia insists that LJ look a certain way Monday through Friday, then Laurentia probably would have to pick out her outfit Monday through Friday. That's one more decision she probably shouldn't be thinking about. Right? So she has to be okay with daddy picking the outfit on the days that he drops her off. I will not send my kid out to school
looking
in
crazy.
tatters.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to trust that. Right? And if on the days that she goes to school with my outfit, if the teachers are going, what happened to LJ today? You have to be okay with that. It has to be a risk you're willing to take.
Right.
But if you're like, no, I can't have these teachers talking about my daughter that way, now there's an issue.
Right.
You understand? So sometimes, yes, the partner can be attentive, but the partner also has, like, the more attentive the partner is, the more conscientious the partner is, the more of the partner is going to come into those decisions. Right? So, for example, when I do dishes, I do it how I want to do dishes.
Right.
If you insist that the dishes have to go in a certain way, you probably would have to guide me every time. Right? Not that, because it's sometimes not necessarily...
Every time?
Wait, sometimes it's not necessarily that the dishes, the way I'm doing it is wrong. It's just different.
Right.
From the way you want to do them. Right? So whether it be the way I grew up doing dishes or however my instinct and initial preferences, right? That's how most likely I will go to do them. And if for some reason consistently that's not good enough, again, not because it's wrong, but because it's different from how you'd want them done, there will be an issue. Maybe maybe not that you have to teach me every time, but it's like, no, I'm not doing it because to do it your way is more work for me. Right? Because I have to think about it. Why do I have to think about dishes? Why do I have to think about laundry?
Okay.
Right? Like, it shouldn't be that much, like, because you have such pickiness about it. You know, so it's not, it's a little bit, that's why I say it's a little bit more than partner being attentive. It's also about you
Preference
being
and
okay with letting go of some of the reins.
Yeah.
Right? You being okay with the risk that somebody might say you're not a great mother. You know, and I think I've seen so many people not want that. Not want to take
Right.
that risk.
Right.
You understand? You know, like one of my favorite things about Laurentia now, actually, I mean, she's been doing that for a while, but when it's nighttime, right? I think I've seen many of our friends, you go to their house and they're consistently cleaning. The woman, they're consistently cleaning. I'm like, dude, we're hanging out, we're chilling, join us. Like, well, I mean, I don't want people coming here and seeing, like, you have 2 young kids. If you want your house to be spotless every time, you will be cleaning every time.
Yeah.
Not so much I don't have kids, but you will be cleaning.
It's a joke that they
every
say.
time,
If
right?
you want a clean house, don't have kids. It's normal.
You'll be cleaning every time. So you
Yeah.
have to take the risk that somebody might come to your house at a time where it's not super clean. And you hope that the person has sense that I have kids here.
Yeah.
And so my house will be clean. If somebody comes in to a house where you have kids, and because there are toys somewhere or there are dishes in the sink or whatever it is, they think you're dirty and a horrible mother. That's a them problem,
Yeah.
right? Is it annoying? Does it suck? Yes. Has society ingrained in a lot of shame with that? Yes. But sometimes there's the work that you also need to do to lose some of that shame. You know, but if you don't, like if you're not doing that work, you're not losing any of that shame. It's almost unfair to me for you to expect that every time you're cleaning that I'm right there with you. You understand? Because at some point it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Right. Right.
You understand? You know, again, mainly because, well, if somebody comes here and like, who cares what somebody thinks, right? And I get it. I'm a man, so I don't face the same societal scrutiny, right? But so what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. You have a point.
You understand? Like how we do things in our house cannot possibly be based on what society might say to you. Right? Because on a more trivial level, society has raised me to be a man's man, macho man. Like if somebody comes to our house and I'm washing dishes, they'll call me a simp. They'll in Chi there's a word called kwadonto. Like they'll throw words at me.
Yeah.
But I don't mind that. I'm taking the risk of being called kwadonto because it's my house. I need to take care of these things. Right? So sometimes I need my wife to be able to risk being called a bad mother if that's what makes us as a unit work better.
Right.
Right? You know, and sometimes folks, especially, you know, some women, some mothers aren't willing to take that risk. So that's why they want to do everything, right? You know, and I'm you know, kind of going on a tangent again. But anytime I hear folks say men can have it all, like, oh no. Right? You know the reason why we can't have it all? Like if a man wanted to be a present father on a day-to-day, there are only 24 hours in a day, right? 7 days in a week. So if you wanted to be a present father who is doing some of the drop-offs, attending, you know, school events, extracurricular activities and stuff like that, that person probably would not be at the highest possible side of their career.
And providing.
Exactly. You know, so they can't be an awesome father while also being at the top level when it comes to provision and how, you know, to the extent of money that they could make if they weren't that. The difference here with women, though, is if a father isn't awesome, whatever the basic is that they're doing, society doesn't have a problem with it. Right? So it's not so much that the father has it all. The society is not shaming him for the part he doesn't have. You understand? Whereas when a woman can't do it all, society shames her for the part she can't do by way of motherhood. You understand? And so when you actually briefly forget about society, neither of us can have it all.
That's true.
Right? And our best bet is to kind of try to get both in moderation. You know, so to be a present father, that means you can't work 80-hour weeks or even 75-hour weeks at most 60, so you can spend more time at home with the family. You understand? Now, there's also another conversation for a father who will be called lazy, whatever it is, when he is, instead of grinding, he is at home taking kids on events or even being a stay-at-home dad. You get called names, right? So he probably can't have it all either.
But then there's also those who have, say, both mom and dad are in the home. They both have jobs that are balanced, right? What do you say about those who are, there's a man, woman, both are in the home. They're both working balanced hours. However, it's still, like you said, society. The woman is supposed to do
All the extra
everything,
stuff.
you know? So how does that now come in with a man who, if someone goes to the, you know, a woman goes to his wife, right? Or a woman goes to her husband and is like, hey, I'm burning out. My mental load,
Like
outwardly, it looks like we're all doing the same stuff, right? However, the woman is the one who thinks about what the kid's gonna wear, have to buy all that, and you know, you think about what everybody's gonna eat. Of course, the man can help with that, right? But there's also that group of people who, how do you explain that mental load?
Yeah. Oh no. So the I guess for folks who are listening, the mental load legit exists.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for many men, it's a bit hard to understand because those expectations are not like those expectations aren't of you. Like nobody expects you to do those things. So it's sometimes even when you're the one primarily doing it, there's almost some pride in it, right? You know, like, so you don't carry the same level of scrutiny, stress on a day-to-day about it. Yeah. So especially if you live in a home where both of you are balanced with respect to the work outside of the home or kind of making money for the home and stuff like that. And as a man or as a partner, you, as a husband, you don't put in your fair share with respect to the day-to-day kind of house chores and stuff like that, then your partner will struggle. And even worse so if they come in and talk to you about it and say, I need support in this area and this is what I need you to help me with, then you can't frame it as though your partner is lazy, right? So that's the part I always struggle with. Anytime I see, you see, anytime they have the 50-50 conversations on TikTok, people will say things like, well, if I am the one going out there to make all of the money, you can't expect me to come home and also be helping with dishes or kids' homework. Like, who are you talking to? Like, why are you talking about your partner like a rival?
Right.
You understand? Because the basic idea here is, regardless of who makes the most money or regardless of who does what, you come home, your partner is overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So yes, you've gone out there, you've done a 16-hour shift, you've come home and you see that your partner is trying to make dinner, get dishes, clean things up, and the kids are all over her. You honestly shouldn't even have to get there, right? But if you see all of that overwhelm, how do you comfortably go, hey, I've done my bit, and then you put your hand over the back of your head to go watch TV? How do you comfortably do that when you can see your partner struggling?
But the thing is, you say you see your partner struggling. I feel like that's why they call it the mental load. Sometimes you don't see those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll be functioning like everything's okay. They're doing everything they're supposed to be. And then they realize, whoa, I am burnt out. Like I am tired, because they have to think of everything. You got to think of, because if mom's home during the day, dad's in the evening, mom has to remember if it's kids' medications, kids' lunches, what are they taking to school, what homework do they have to submit. So sometimes those things, no matter how you slice it, I feel like more of it falls on
the woman,
the wife. You know, not saying men don't have a mental load, they do. However, there's a lot of, when I say invisible, that's what I mean by invisible. You're thinking about like medications, or you know, sometimes if it's doctor's appointments, or keeping up with different things, that even just for your partner too, making sure, hey, they have what they need for work, they have what you're taking care of your family, and there's a mental aspect that is not seen for women.
So, and I think in those cases, it comes back down to honestly what I believe when it comes to relationship, what is over 60% of the issues most people have. It's effective communication.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Because if it's invisible, right, and I don't know it's there, I can do anything about it.
Right.
Like I have to know what's going on before I can do something about it. Right. So the example I was giving you about how Lauren said apparently was struggling with deciding what we're going to eat. Even though in my mind I'm the least picky person when it comes to
it's like make anything, food. I'll be fine.
I
but
would
it's
be
that
fine.
Thinking of
I don't
what
mind
am I going to make.
I don't mind eating the same thing 3-4 times straight. Right. You know, but she is sitting there kind of apparently it's a thing for her. The day we talked about it, like I told you earlier, that same day I went on my computer, created a menu for 45 days straight, and she didn't have to make a decision at least for 45 days, right? And since then I've actually taken care of the menu. I've taken that over. I'm the one that does the menu, right? Because for me, it doesn't give me any issue. It doesn't give me any mental load, right? And I think that's where the communication verse and also kind of, if you see your partner overwhelmed, like if I see my partner overwhelmed, it doesn't matter who did what. Like it doesn't matter that I also go out there and do A, B, or C. You're overwhelmed with something, I can help with it. Let me take care of that. Because when I'm overwhelmed with something and she can help with it, she takes care of that too.
And that only can happen with communication. So essentially, that's what I wanted to bring the whole conversation down to with the mental load. Nobody can guess what's on your mind or what you're thinking or what you're overwhelmed with. You have to communicate it, you know? Yeah. And I feel like that's where this conversation needs to kind of pivot to with when people are talking about mental load. Well, are you communicating those things?
Yeah.
And, and then if you're communicating and those things are not changing, then you have a different problem.
Yeah.
But you just can't continually say you're going to the internet and telling, hey, it's mental load, but communication.
Yeah. And people often kind of almost have this, well, like you're an adult too, you should know.
You should know.
Right? You know, but sure, like when I'm sitting at my office, right, and I'm working and I'm thinking about all of the different things that I have to do, right? And again, people, you don't know my life, right? So forget about like men as a collective for a moment and like the things that I have to handle in our home, right? Like I'm always thinking about something. Right. So I'm carrying stuff, right? For me, for the most part, I feel it's within reason, like I can handle it. It's not a big deal. You know, I can handle it. But I don't kind of share necessarily every difficulty that I'm having with my wife, right? The only time when maybe it comes up is if, okay, this one I might not get to. Can you help me with this? Can you pick this up for me? Can you take care of this, right? So while I feel like I'm in control of it, I don't bring it up. And I don't expect her to know that there is this that is out of my control until I have told her. Yeah. Right.
But do you think that with that, is it more so like you don't want her to worry about the thing that you feel like you don't have control over? Or do you think like because naturally women, if you tell, hey, this is what they will spring to try to help you to do it. So for you personally, is it like you're not trying to stress her out with that, or you're just like, I'm going to figure it out on my own. Even if I'm struggling with it, I'm going to figure it out?
Well, so, I mean, honestly, there are many of them where for me, it's more of either I need to find the time or I need to kind of make the time to think through it, right? You know, I don't think our lives is such a burden that I can't share it with her.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything that I ever say I don't want to burden her with it. Right. Because I think we are always stronger together. Yeah. Right. So if there's whatever's on my mind, if I tell you, and then now we carry it together. I think if it's so much that it's burdening me, when we talk through it, there's a better chance of us figuring it out when we're thinking of it together.
Right.
You know, so for me, it's never, I don't want to burden her with it, you know. And there are times where I'll share something and say, like, this is swirling in my mind, but like, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. I got it out. Right. And we've known each other long enough that if it's something that I say, you know, don't worry about it, she might worry about it a little bit, but she knows I'll take care of it and I will. She might remind me here or there, but you know, and you'll be surprised. There are sometimes when I share something and she has the solution, like it's right there. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm so glad I shared this with you, because then I would have been sitting with it for days when the solution was right there. You know, and so I think for both of us, we've gotten to the point where if there's something that, it's bothering you more, share it. And between the two of us, we are very, very smart people. We can figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I honestly encourage people to do. Like, share it. Share what's on your mind. I honestly don't get it. Anytime, sometimes I watch TV, I watch a show, and you see a man lose his job, and they would wake up every day and go to work for like a month straight until they're caught. Pretending because they don't want to share with, he doesn't want to share with his wife that he's lost his job because he doesn't want to bother her. Like, what the hell do you mean? Like, the person that is supposed to be your person, you've lost your job from it, and you're dealing with it all on your own because you don't want to bother her.
So at that point, it's like a choice. You're choosing to carry that on your own.
It's more of your shame.
Yeah.
Right? It's more of your shame and what it means to you by way of your masculinity and the fact that now you cannot like make money in the house. It's more about your shame than I don't want to bother her. If you're being honest with yourself.
Right.
Right? Because what do you mean you don't want to bother me? You're worried that if you share with your partner that you've lost your job, maybe in your mind, they will look at you as less of a man. Right? So I honestly do think it's more of the shame. Now, granted, depending on the specific people involved, maybe there's a history of that where I told my partner something and then it became an issue where they were constantly worrying about it, they were constantly talking to me about it and stuff like that. That's probably fair. But like for a month where you'd wake up and go to work, you understand?
That's different, yeah.
At some point, it becomes more about like work that you need to do. Why do you feel as though, you can't? Because I'm hoping that if you can wake up and go to work, that means that you have a little bit of savings to still keep up appearances, right? So that means that after the first day, you can say, hey, babe, I got laid off, but we have this, buffer. So we'll be okay. So you don't have to worry about it. And I will try to find something within the next month or two. That's enough for our buffer. Why are we waking up every morning to go to work? You understand?
Yeah.
Because you've shared with them that you have a plan, you have a buffer. So then there's nothing for them to worry about. Technically, they will probably still worry a little bit. But now you then, when you wake up and you're leaving, you say, I am going to the agency, I'm going to fill an application here, I'm going to do this, and then you can come back, right? And then share ideas. For all you know, she may have a connection by way of a job. She may have a friend who knows somebody. She may know somebody who's hiring. But you're not sharing any of this with them because of your shame.
Yeah.
You understand? So yes, like communicate. And sometimes, yes, it might get tense. But then this is your person.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you married a fool, that's probably a whole different conversation, and you need a whole different therapy.
That's what I was going to lead to. Is like, what is your advice to those who have, say, they've communicated, whatever issues they have, their mental load, and things don't necessarily change for a man and for a woman? What do you think the next steps would be for them?
This part is always tricky, right? And I guess a good starting point will probably be couples therapy, I'd say, right? Because it looks like something is getting lost in translation.
Therapy.
Yep, there you go, right? Because it looks like something is getting lost in translation.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who continuously tells you they care about you, they love you, and you're sharing with them that this thing is stressing me out. It's bringing me down. It's making my life worse than it should be. It's making my quality of life significantly lower than I'd like it to be. And the person who says they care about you, love you, decides to consistently not do anything about it, then we have a problem, right? Because you don't necessarily have to understand my problem to want to help me with it.
Right.
You have to just love me enough. Right. You don't have to inherently get it to do something about it. You have to care enough that it upsets me.
Even if it doesn't make sense to you, the fact that it's hurting your partner or whoever should be enough to make changes.
Exactly.
To move. Yeah.
So if the person you're with consistently is just brushing it aside because it doesn't make sense, your problem is a little bigger than mental load.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why couples therapy, because I don't like to say leave him or her, right?
It can change. Things like that, they can change. As far as in respect to relationships, with a little effort, things can get better.
Yeah. So there's the effort bit, and also kind of a bit of, again, I go back to boundaries, right? You know, because again, there are so many people who, you say it once, you say it twice, and like, you know what, I just keep grinding because he's not going to change, or she's not going to change, you know, and then nothing will change really,
Right.
you know. And at some point, especially if you're with somebody who is less conscientious, at some point they would realize that, oh, I just have to ignore it 2-3 times, she'll give up on it.
Right. So as far as, so there's I watched this video on YouTube, and there was a lady who was, I think she had 4 kids, and she essentially started to lose it in her relationship, and she went to a doctor's appointment. She met a a therapist, who then diagnosed her with different things, and then she met with a psychiatrist, who now asked her, "Hey, how are things at home?" And he realized it was just the overload of things that were going on in her life, but she wasn't really
Piecing it together.
Yeah, the therapist or whatever wasn't piecing it together. So now the psychiatrist was like, "Hey, how's your home life? And how is, you know, everything?" And then he pieced everything together. I was like, "Hey, these things need to change." And she took that advice, and things started changing.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes it's just like, you know, communication.
Yeah. And then there are times also where you probably don't know there's a choice in the matter. Like, there's so many people in their homes, they feel like, well, this is my job as the woman, I can't put it on my husband. So they might be struggling, but they're like, I have to figure this out, right? So they won't talk to or even express it to their partner, right? And if that's you, please do. Like, when you express it to your partner, my hope is that the person cares about you enough to want to do something to reduce your load, right? And that goes both ways. You know, like, I feel like if at some point I am, of course, as humans, we always worried about job security and everything, right? But if I lose my job, and my biggest issue is that my wife may leave me because now I'm just a broke man, I'm probably
you have a bigger issue than that.
I'm probably in a horrible marriage. If my issue is how my wife will view me going forward, right? If I feel like my wife will all of a sudden become this disrespectful person because now for the next month or so I don't have a job and I'm trying to figure it out. You understand? So the communication is huge, and I personally believe that if the two of us, if our lives, like, if I'm with you and my life isn't better than it would be if I was by myself, what am I doing with you?
There you go.
You understand? I feel like that's the top advantage of commitment, partnership, or marriage, whatever it is, that you get to be with someone that together you are going to be better than you would be individually. And I think if you haven't found the person for whom that is true, you might as well be single, because again, what's the point?
Is it really a partnership?
You understand?
You know? Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So in rounding up and speaking on, I guess, prevention over crisis, like making sure we're taking care of ourselves consistently, I think the relationship aspect is huge. So as we're getting older and relating with people, you'll be surprised how much of our day-to-day mental health difficulties come from how we relate to other people.
Yes.
Could be how you relate to a boss, could be how you relate to the kids, could be how you relate to your partner significantly, of course, how you relate to friends, parents.
Yeah.
You know, because at a certain age, maybe parents still want to have a huge influence in your life, and you're like, I'm an adult, back the hell off, right?
And sometimes upbringing too, because as adults, at some point you need to learn that there's things you're going to have to unlearn for the sake of your mental health.
Yeah.
You know, there's ways that some people were brought up, and they might have to unlearn things that they thought were normal, but it's really causing them to go down a path that's not healthy for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So whenever I speak on relationship, that's the whole idea, because the more you can get a better hang of those relationships, the more you can communicate with your partner, the lower your load, whether mental or physical responsibilities, because then you're sharing it, right? The more you're not holding on to some, hurt or some discomfort because your partner did something to you and you are scared to communicate or you don't want to share it, like then you're dealing with the pain that lasts longer than it has to, right? So on a relationship level, we need to communicate effectively, of course.
Yes.
Right? Because when I say communicate, I feel like the effective is implied, because I'm not suggesting that you just go in and yell at each other, because then nothing changes.
Yeah.
Right? So effective communication, of course. And on a day by day, we have to take care of ourselves. Right? With all of the screens around, we are most days not sleeping, like getting enough sleep. We are most days consuming a lot of harmful content, because there's something about, whether it be the brain or humanity or how we've been socialized or conditioned, that very well this thing pisses you off, but you keep going for more.
Watching it, yeah.
You keep going for more.
And then not even just what we're feeding our brain, but also what we're feeding our bodies, has a huge impact on how we feel.
Yeah.
How we sleep, so just all in all, taking in things that will make you better or feel better, have all an impact on your mental health.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so we all need to be conscientious about that, right? I think many of us just take life almost on vibes. Like we wake up.
Autopilot.
That's the word I'm looking for. Exactly. Many of us live on autopilot, and we have to be more intentional with the day-to-day things, because that's how you're going to see the things that aren't quite working to then do something about it.
Yeah. You have to keep inventory of your life, of your brain. And
see, that's how you know somebody pays attention in therapy.
Yeah, you got to keep inventory and keep track, because if you're not seeing where things are changing or things are getting better or getting worse, how do you progress?
Fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as communication, remember what we talked about. As far as communication, always be curious before you become furious.
Hey, bars. Always be curious and not furious. Yes. All right. So on that point, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully you got something out of it. The whole idea here is for me to hook you up. In this case, for us to hook you up with some strategies that will help you in the day-to-day, especially in a way that doesn't feel too psychological. I think many times when people think about a psychologist or whatever it is, they have this idea of somebody,
something
fancy
extreme
office, something extreme. You're laying in a couch and stuff like that. But sometimes the conversations can look like this, right? So stay tuned for the next episode where whether the two of us or me and another guest will hook you up with some mental health tips. But until then, peace.
Bye, y'all.